Hello, everyone. Welcome to our first show of Beyond the Syllabus. I am one of the hosts of this show. I am Waqar Salim. I am a faculty member in the computer science program. I'm also currently the assistant dean. I believe many of you know me. I'm joined by my co-host.
Ala Siddiqui. So I recently graduated from Habib from my major is CND. I was in the batch of 2020, and now I am working as the coordinator for the offices of assistant deans. So that is Dr. Kar and Dr. Masa.
Good. Thank you, Ala. So this show, this today is our first installment in this show, season one, episode one, if you will. And the purpose of this show is to highlight all the interesting things that students are doing outside the classroom, beyond the syllabus. There are a lot of interesting things that happen in the classroom. There are a lot of interesting courses, a lot of interesting classwork. But I really want to highlight the effort and the initiative that students take beyond what is required of them. And for that, I'm very happy to have as our first guest today, Swaleha. Many of you may know her. I'm forgetting the full name right now. Swaleha Salim. I know she has the same last name as me.
Yeah, that is true.
And so Saleha, I will introduce her just a bit before I ask her to tell us more about herself. Saleha is currently a CS junior. I know that she was in my OOP class, and even I tried this morning to remember what game she had made, but I had trouble recalling the exact game that she did. Um, and she is doing some interesting things right now, and I will want her to tell us herself about this. So Saleha, over to you. Maybe you can start off by telling us a bit about yourself, how you learned of Habib, how you came to Habib, and what program you're in right now.
Thank you so much, Dr. Agar and Ala, for having me. I would first like to thank everyone, the tech team, to make this happen. I'm Swaleha, and I'm currently a computer science junior at Habib, and I'm also working as a product owner at a travel startup that is sastaticket.pk. Moreover, I am also a founder of an edtech startup, edtech as an educational technology. So we basically work on incorporating technology in the field of education. And I've been working on that startup since 2017. And up till now, we have students from over 200 countries around the world. My journey at Habib. So I would first like to start off of how I came here to Habib. So it's a very interesting story because when I was in high school, I used to see Habib representatives coming to our college and just telling us more about Habib. At that time, I was in the field of pre-medical in my high school. So I saw that there's no medical field at Habib. So I was like, okay, this is not of my interest, and I should maybe just ignore it. So at that time, I didn't pay much heed to that. To whatever the Habib representatives told me about Habib. What happens is that when I graduate from college, I decided to take a gap year to discover more about my interest and just see what is my interest and how does it align with the market that we have right now. And in that gap year, I did a part-time job at an e-commerce company. It was basically an IT-related job, and I do not have any sort of IT-related experience at that time. But at that time, in that job, I was trained. I worked in the field of IT, and then at that time, I realized my interest in the field of computer science. And I realized that when I chose medical as a field in my high school, it was mainly because of the stereotypes that we have in our community, that girls belong to the field of medical and they cannot really do maths very well, and they cannot really do well in the field of technology, engineering. So at that time, I realized that I was also a victim of those stereotypes. And and I broke those stereotypes and I decided to join a computer science program in my gap year. So I did some research on universities and I realized that Habib is a very, very good choice for a lot of reasons. For the interdisciplinary teachings that happen at Habib, the kind of faculty, the kind of people, the environment, and everything. So I decided to apply at Habib. Now, a lot of people said that you do not have a computer science background or even a math background. How will you get into Habib? So I did not only got admission at Habib, I got admission with 100% scholarship. So I'm an A2 top scholar at Habib, and thanks to Habib for financing my education throughout this time that I was able to transform so much and be here where I am right now.
Thank you, Soleha. That's very interesting. I didn't know that you're from pre-medical. In fact, there's if you were to apply to Habib now, being a pre-medical student, the process has become a bit more complicated. There are some new rules from HEC. So I'm glad that you got in when you did, and very happy that we got the chance to have you here with us at Habib in general and right now here for this show. So you mentioned how, so starting from pre-medical, then you took this gap year, and then things have been working out. I would say maybe now maybe you'd agree that things are kind of working out. Maybe things are falling in place. So this choice, maybe initially you may have been a bit hesitant. You may have questioned yourself, did I make the right choice? I was always in this pre-medical mindset, now taking on something new. So, but now as you see things happening, so now you're in this role that we'll talk about. I see here you have this Microsoft bottle with you. So it seems that things have been falling into place. This choice that you made, maybe even as you said, maybe there was some resistance from your family. I know many students have to face that, especially as you said, there's some gender stereotypes. So do you think that now things are falling into place? All your experiences, all the things that are happening with you, do they validate your choice?
Yeah, so I really like this question. So when I first decided to join a computer science program, I had a lot of confusions in mind. I thought that maybe I won't be as good enough as other people in my batch. So even though I got admission, it was also a source of validation for me that yes, I can do it. But seeing the people around me and seeing a very few amount of girls around me in this field, since it is a very male-dominated field. So for the first 2 years that I spent at Habib, there was a lot of questioning going on, whether I'm good enough, whether I can do well in this field or not. And so in my gap year, just like I said that I've been working on an edtech startup, so I also started off with that in my gap year. So I developed some interest in the business domain as well. So in these 2 years, I kind of questioned myself whether I should switch to business, whether I should continue with computer science, because I do not have any sort of background in that. Um, and there was a lot of imposter syndrome, that even if you do good, you think that it is because of luck, or you are not just good enough. Maybe you did right now, but you might not be able to do that in future. So there was a lot of questioning, and I kept researching on to come at a field which aligns completely with my interests. So during my summers, I joined LinkedIn and I connected with a lot of people to see what is actually happening in the industry right now. I used to read up articles on the internet and things like that. I did my research. And then I came across a field that is an emerging field right now, which is product management. And when I first got to know what product management is, um, I researched about it and I got this definition of product management that it is an intersection of technology, business, and design. And at that time, I had this, deja vu feeling that yes, I want to do that because everything that I have been interested in is now falling into place. So my past interest in business, my current field as technology, and Habib's general focus on design thinking, and we have a playground, and there are a lot of events happening. I used to attend those as well. So I felt like that all of those interests, all of the dots that I had before that started off from a gap year are now falling into place. So this role is not as technical and is not as very business savvy as well. So you need to have an interdisciplinary knowledge in terms of every field. And this is what I wanted, and this is what I got. So it took 2 years, and if you count my gap year in, it would be 3 years to finally, connect the dots. And I think the journey is still going on. It has not come to an end yet.
So, Swaleha, I think so. This part of discovering yourself and just taking so many different courses and this interdisciplinary education, I think it resonates with all Habib students mainly because we get to experiment with so many different courses and all. You tell us that with your CS, even though your major is CS, you got to work on lots of different things, and now you're working in a very different field, right? So could you tell us a bit about what that position is and what do you do exactly? What your everyday, daily routine is like?
Yeah, so I just recalled one point that I wanted to add in the previous question. So I mentioned that there was a lot of questioning about myself, about my skills, and it all validated for once when Playground hosted a competition in Mind for the Planet (IFTP) in February 2020. So I participated in that competition along with my friends, and the kind of people that were participating in that competition were, very, very. First of all, they were senior, and I knew some of their backgrounds, and I was like, okay, they're very accomplished. I can never beat them, and things like that. So, but I ended up winning that competition. Our team got first position. So that made me realize that okay, I might not be able to excel in completely in the field of technology, but I might be able to excel in something that is with my interest. So at that moment, I realized that success is not one-dimensional thing. If I'm not good at something, then I must be good at something else. And at that point, I realized that the product management, basically design thinking, business, and technology, the intersection of all these things is something that I can do very well. So now, answering your question, Ala, what is my role? So my role is named as product owner, and it's still confusing for a lot of people because it is still an emerging role in Pakistan specifically. So it consists of a lot of different things. So just like I mentioned before, that it is basically an intersection of business, technology, and design. Now, being a product owner, what do I do? My role basically involves taking business objectives on one hand and aligning those with the engineering. So in terms of business, we can come up with a lot of objectives. Okay, we have to do this, we have to do that for a tech product. But you also need to know about the engineering perspective, whether it is still able to implement those business objectives or not. So this is where a product manager comes in, that he keeps the business objective in his mind and see, okay, if that is applicable to the current engineering infrastructure or the tech infrastructure that we have, and whether we can implement it or not. This is the first thing. Now that a product manager has decided that, okay, we can implement this on our tech product, then how do we implement this? So the first step to that is to communicate all of those business objectives and whatever you have to do to the engineering team. So communication is a very important part of a product manager or a product owner role, because you have to first think, because you have to communicate with a lot of different departments, and you need to have the skill to communicate to them in a right way. Because if a person belonging to, let's say, marketing thinks very differently to a person belonging to an engineering field. So you have to understand all of those roles and then communicate the thing that is relevant to them and understandable to them. So then comes communication, that you communicate those business requirements to the engineering team. Okay, we have to implement this on our product. Now, when we communicate this, we also need to prioritize this for the engineering team. So there are a lot of requirements coming in from different departments. There are some bugs coming in, some problems are critical priority, some problems are of high priority, some are low, some are just enhancements, So the product owner or product manager also need to align those tasks and see which one should be prioritized first for the engineering. Now that the engineering team implements those things in the product, then they might face a lot of issues as well. So at that time, the product manager needs to decide, okay, what should be the strategy that we need to do right now? And in order to do that, in order to understand the problem that the engineering team is facing, they also need to have a technology knowledge as well, a computer science background as well. And then align this with the business objectives to see, okay, what should we do now that we are facing this problem? So this goes back and forth until the feature is finally implemented on the website. So I would like to give you an example of what I do in my job. So I started off as an intern at SastaTicket.pk. SastaTicket is basically a travel startup, which is so the traditional travel agents that are present in their offices, we are working on to digitize everything and bring it to an online, on a website basically. So now if someone wants to book a ticket, book a visa, everything related to travel, they won't have to go to a travel agent and do this hassle of, traveling. They can just simply come to our website and just book their tickets right away. So, so this is the kind of field that requires a lot of innovation because we are the first people in the market trying to digitize the travel industry in Pakistan. So when I was an intern at Sasta Ticket, I had a data analysis task that there was some issue with the flight provider that we had, and we need to analyze the data to see what solution can we implement on our website to solve this problem. Because we are always looking forward to automate things, right? We cannot really just rely on manually doing things. This is what the usual travel agents do, right? So this was data analysis. When I came to a full-time position after my internship, right now I'm working on coming up with different products within the Sasta Ticket product itself. So the travel industry is not just about booking flights. When someone flies to somewhere, they need to book hotels as well. They need to book transfers to and from the airport, right? Maybe someone wants to book an Umrah package, or someone wants to book travel insurance or things like that. So there are a lot of different small products in one Sasta Ticket product itself. And currently I'm working on 3 different products. So this also involves the ideation of the product, that what features should be there in the product, whether we are able to implement it or not. And once we do that, when the release should happen, what should be the MVP, and things like that. So I hope that provides a holistic approach and a holistic explanation to what the role is about. Basically, if I would want to summarize all of this, I would just say that just understanding the business objectives and aligning them with engineering objectives, and then coming up with something that improves the product or adds something to the product.
Thank you, Swalia. That was quite a comprehensive overview. And I was thinking while you're explaining all that, I somehow thought back to my wife. So she's also juggling kids, in-laws, and then there's stuff coming in from the kids' school, and then her own freelance work. It's a lot of juggling around. And I'm glad that you relate this to what you do at Habib. So at Habib, you mentioned you take many different courses, not just, and this is very much the hallmark of Habib University, that even though you're a computer science student, computer science is not the only thing that you do. You get extensive exposure to many different areas, and that kind of trains you, that helps you in the situation now where you have to talk to people. As you said, the marketing people think differently than the engineering people, think differently than the sales people, than your core business people, and you have to juggle all of them, communicate all of them effectively. And you cannot just say that, okay, I'm a CS person, I can't talk to you business people. It's your job to talk to everyone effectively. So can you, I thought of something, because you mentioned also initially that when you joined computer science at Habib University, then often in the classroom you found that there were very few girls around you. And now as a product manager, again, in this tech company, I guess, even though I guess you are in the flight business, but you are a tech company. So in this tech company, do you feel any gender stereotypes that you have to come across, and how do you face those?
Yeah. So I feel like that, even in the engineering department, there can be a lot of hierarchies, right? So the product team is different. It is quite very close to business, and in between basically engineering and business. And then there's a front end team which is also technical but not very heavily technical. And then there's a backend team which is extremely heavily technical. Then there are QAs, so there can be a lot of hierarchies, and those who are more skilled go to in different departments. So I see a lot of women that are very less amount of women, first of all, in the engineering team. Now, in those hierarchies, I do see a lot of women and young women in the QA department, in the front end department. I do not see much women in the back end department, which is usually considered as a very tech heavy department. And it's not because that we do not have skilled women. We do have a lot of skilled women in the team, and in general in the field of computer science. But I think not only the background that we have, the environment that we have in the women that face in the field of technology is holding us back. Sometimes there are internal things that hold us back as well. Like, for example, if we are saying something, if we are putting our point across and someone just cuts that up, it is basically, if someone mansplains us, then girls usually get silent. They do not put their point across. If someone cuts them in between, they just let them do it. So I think if women, try to fight for themselves, if someone is cutting off them between, they do not allow this to happen. if someone is not giving importance to their opinion just because they're a woman, they also should not let that happen and then make their point, make their place, and just fight for themselves. Moreover, I think the environment as a certificate is very inclusive. I personally think that people are very very respectful, and they listen to you, they talk to you, they take your opinions. But I sometimes feel like that since I'm the youngest of all, I need to try very hard to prove myself, to prove my point. But this is okay because the team, just like I mentioned, is very inclusive. So this is usually not the issue. But if you talk about in general, there are a lot of issues that I do think that women face. Even the environment that we are in, there are a lot of men and very few women. So I have seen a lot of girls around me in the field of technology that they are very lowered down. They don't speak much. They don't criticize. They don't question. And if they see something wrong is happening to them or to any other female around them, then they do not speak up. So I think that what helps me excel in my role, just like I mentioned, that it is usually about communication, right? So what helps me excel in this role is to speak for myself, is to not let any sort of insecurity that I have inside being a woman in tech, or someone doing wrong to me, cutting me off, or not giving value to my point. I strive very hard and I fight for myself to prove my point. And I think that this is something that every woman, whether they're in the field of tech or not, should do that.
Thank you for that, Salia. I mean, I think it's great, and I think it requires that kind of exposure that you're in this field and you've gotten this experience, so you know how to, get your point across and not let anyone silence you. I think a lot of women don't get that opportunity, and I mean, it's great that you are getting such. And yeah, I think that tells us, how important just this work experience, along with your studies, all of how important all that is in making us more confident.
That is true. I think Habib also has a role in that. So, just like I take CS courses here, I also take liberal arts courses, and the environment in general. I think it made me realize the importance of my rights, of the things that might go wrong, because a lot of times the wrong is happening to us, but we do not even know that this is wrong. So this sort of education about my rights and how should I fight for it. I think Habib's environment in general and the courses that we take in terms of liberal arts and humanities also really help us understand and fight for it. So this is not something that it's about history. It's boring, and it does not really. A lot of people think, even when before I came to Habib, I also used to think that courses like these, like liberal arts and humanities, are very, very different from computer science. But I think the kind of world in which we are heading into, this is very, very important, not just to excel in your role as a CS person, but also to make the environment around you more inclusive.
Thanks, Alia. And then I want to get now really specific, and you've already started to talk about this. I want to talk about specific courses that you feel really helped you. Of course, I know mine was the best one that you took, but other than that, what courses specifically, or maybe there are people that Habib that you think you look up to, who you get inspired from. Maybe there are certain offices. You mentioned playground several times, or other peers, maybe people in your batch, or even in the batch below you or the batch above you. Any offices, maybe OAP, student life. So are there any specific courses that you got inspired from, people, offices?
Yeah, so I would first like to start off with my courses. So just like you mentioned, that you taught me, I think that really helps me. And it's just not, I'm not saying it for the sake of it. I do mean that because a lot of times we have to think about the approaches that we can employ at workplace. And the knowledge of OOP, object-oriented programming, really helps me. Moreover, I mentioned a data analysis task that I did in my internship. And at that point, I was taking a data science course by Ms. Soleha. So I was taking that course and I was doing that task side by side. So that course itself really helped me not only just do, programming and do the data analysis, it also helped me think from a data perspective. like to take data-driven decisions. We should not just think or take a decision just because a gut says so or a senior, for example, says so. We should always have something to be backed up by data, and I think this course really taught me that. There currently we are taking an entrepreneurship course, technology management and entrepreneurship. I think this also really helps me deep dive into the business part of this thing. And since Aestheticate is a startup itself, so it really helps me understand how can we go forward with the things that we are doing right now. So this course was also nice. The course that there's one more course that we are taking right now, that is a software engineering course, and it is very surprising because the things that we study in software engineering, the tools that we are taught, are exactly the tools that are used in my workplace. So we study about Agile, Scrum, and how to implement them, project management, the whole software engineering industry perspective of it. So I think this also really helps me get the industry perspective, right? Because a lot of university curriculums are very focused towards academia. But I think the courses that I took at Habib really helped me understand the industry well in general. So these were the courses that I wanted to talk about. If I talk about the uh, other departments, I would say Playground has played a very crucial role. We have design thinking workshops, and I took one of those workshops. It really helped me understand the problem solving approaches. And I think that when I was interviewing for certificate, I mentioned design thinking, and I think the person who was taking my interview was really impressed when I mentioned design thinking, because a lot of students, they do not know about it. This is when you go into industry, you do your own research. This is when you discover design thinking and different problem solving approaches. But I already knew them because of Playground and the workshop that happened. So yeah, Playground is a department, is an office that really helped me. It still helps me to excel in my role. Um, as far as peers are concerned, I think Habib has a great student body. So due to COVID, I'm not really able to, talk to people who are younger than my batch. But when I was at Habib, I used to talk to people from the batch of 2020. Mostly it was the batch of 2020. So there are a lot of my peers from the field of computer science, electrical engineering. I remember I would just text them randomly on Facebook, or maybe just email them, because you can access everyone. I will see their name, their profile, either on Facebook or on LinkedIn. I would just directly message them and ask for advice to whatever problem that I was facing at the time, and they would guide me, and they would guide me very well. So I think the general environment of helping each other out, I think my seniors, especially from the batch of 2020, have really helped me get to where I am. Some people from the batch of 2021 also helped me. So the reason why I got the internship at Sastaticate at first place was because one of my friends from the batch of 2021 uh, recommended me to Sastaticate, and that's how I got the job. So everything is basically connected to Habib, whether it's the peers that I have, whether the courses that I have taken, or the office that I present here.
Okay, so Swaya, so we've been talking, we've been saying very nice things about Habib, or everything's great. And it's true, a lot of things are great. But I'm sure that in your journey here at Habib and also at work, were some of the challenges that you faced? Could you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah. So a bit I touched upon on it earlier. There was a lot of questioning. I went with imposter syndrome at that in my first few years at Habib, first 2 years at Habib. So I initially belonged to SIN board, right, to ATU board, basically the local boards. So when I first transitioned from that sort of teaching to the way Habib teaches, I had and also there were a lot of issues in me understanding mathematics and computer science, because I did not have any sort of background in that. So I faced a lot of challenges into understanding those, and I've always been a topper, the kind of person who scores well in every subject. So when I faced those issues, I had a dip in my GPA in my first and second semesters. So that was an issue. I think the fact that Habib does not have GPA number in the first semester, it really helped me. And so by the end of my second semester, I was able to get into the zone. And then, so the first year, I had issues with terms of academia, in terms of understanding the course content and performing well in the courses. At that time, I used to see a lot of male colleagues of mine who already knew programming and things like that from their childhood, or before their time at Habib. So I used to feel like I will never be able to surpass them, because they have been working on this since they were very small, or even before I even knew that these things existed, even before I knew what programming is or how to do it. So they were doing that very, very way before they joined Habib, but I was learning them for the first time when I came to Habib. So I felt like I will never be able to surpass them. And when I see people around me, my people from my batch, from the junior batch, I think a lot of people go through this, because Habib recruits uh, almost recruits the top people from different colleges. So if someone was good in their own college or school, and then they see people at their par in the Habib community, there can be a lot of negative feelings associated with that. So I think I would like to give an advice to any junior or any person who is going through this right now, that they're not good enough, they cannot be at par with other colleagues. I think just like I mentioned before, that success is not one dimensional, right? We usually think that, if you get a good GPA, if you get into Dean's List, then it's very likely that you will be successful. Or, even if you get selected for international programs that Habib has, then if you don't get selected, then you are lesser than those people who got selected. But that is not right. A lot of times, so in order to succeed, you need to be self-aware enough. You need to know that what are your skills, what you want to do, what you need to do, and these things should not be influenced by the people around you. You should just see within and see that what is your interest. Once you figure that out, just do your best in this field, and you will figure out a way soon. So a lot of people, they have a success definition, that okay, if I go abroad, if I study abroad, this is my definition of success. For some other people, they just have to make their parents happy. This is their definition of success. So we cannot really judge someone that, okay, if they're not according to our definition of success, then only they are successful. This is not true. We should just keep our own definition of success and just do good accordingly. And this should not be affected by people around us or our parents or anyone. So once you have that kind of self-awareness, I think then only you can be able to excel in whatever you want to do.
Thank you, Salha. I mean, honestly, that is so true,
Yeah.
because it's very hard to, when you're surrounded by people and everyone's telling you, oh, you need to go abroad, or you need to do this to, be actually successful. So it's really hard to find your own strengths and focus on them. So I really agree with you, and I think that's a very good message. I'm just wondering, you have this job, you're working, and you have this you're studying at the same time. How do you manage all of this together? And yeah, it's hard. What's your schedule like?
Yeah. So this, and whether they're at university or at my workplace, they're curious about it. So I think my workplace itself is very flexible. So we do not have 9 to 5 I posted about one of my courses on LinkedIn, and one of the professors at Habib reached out to me for a khidmat opportunity. So I did khidmat, and this connected back to the course that I made a few years ago. So if you cannot able to find an opportunity of your own, from somewhere else, then you need to create opportunities yourself. Start your own business, do something on yourself. Just like I created my own course, I'm pretty sure there are a lot of things that people can do. And in the COVID space, I think people have a lot of people have moved to the digital space. So it is now very easy to create and get the opportunities in the digital space. One more thing that I would do, if anyone goes to my LinkedIn profile and see the things that I have done, almost all 90% of the things are because that I made a profile and I connected with people on LinkedIn. So when I was at my second year of university, I got a job, a freelance-based job. I've been freelancing. So my freelance background from the past really helped me get this opportunity through LinkedIn. So if anyone does not have a LinkedIn profile right now, I would really appreciate them to. I would really recommend them to create their profile and just keep searching for those people who are in your field, the kind of people that you would want to become in future. Connect with them, talk to them. I have personally connected to a lot of people, and they have really advised me very, very well in terms of a lot of things. I've also received, so I did a course from Oxford University last summers, and I needed funding for that. I funded the whole course. It was a lot of money in euros. I funded all of those money through LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is a very good tool, and if you decide to and if you connect to the people that you want to become in future. So this is the advice that I would want to give to the people. And yeah, this is, it seems like that the opportunities are very scarce, but that is not the case. The digital space that we have right now, you can easily connect with people even from outside of Pakistan and get the opportunities there. And
Sarah, okay, firstly, I'm super impressed by you. You talk about, not procrastinating and having a healthy sleep schedule and all that. I'm really impressed. I wish I could do that in my own life. But so all of that, everything that you shared, it's so amazing. And honestly, everything that you've accomplished, you should be super proud of yourself. One thing, so now that we're ending, I'd just like to ask, what's one of the, just to end on a funny note or a happy note, what's one of your best memories, at Habib? And if you could just share that, if
yeah. So we have 10 minutes. I think when I first thought about this question, I recall the time when, so I have classes for admission tests preparation before we got into Habib. So I used to come to Habib every day to take those classes. I came to Habib to give my admission test. But once I got admission at Habib, and the first time I went to Habib, I just looked at the campus, and from somewhere I got this feeling that okay, I'm gonna spend the next 4 years of my life this place. So this was sort of a very happy feeling for me because I never expected myself to be studying in such a good institute because I just like I mentioned my family's financial conditions. I think that I would not even be able to afford a government university. And now I was here studying at one of the top universities of the country. So it was happy and a nice feeling for me. The other time that I remember was when I won this IFTP competition that I talked about. So I was completely, I mentioned that a lot of people who were very senior, were very accomplished than me, were participating in that competition. So I had no expectation of us winning, but we still did our best, and we pitched in a very good manner. So then when our name was announced, so I remember first of all they announced the person who was in the third position, and I was like, okay, we cannot even come in the first position. We at least we can come in the third position. So it wasn't our name. And then, okay, I was like, there are very few odds to coming in the second position. Okay, maybe it can be our name. And it wasn't that. And then at that time, I completely lost hope to be the first position holder. And I was like, okay, this team can win. This team has a lot of good people. Their idea was also very nice. And, things like that. So I still remember, I have the video of it. So when Dr. Anzar Khalik announced our name, I could not believe at that moment. And me and everyone who was in my team, we just were literally stuck for 1 second because we could not believe it. And then got the prize. So I think this was a very, very nice feeling. I still remember after getting the prize, I went outside, I called my mom, and I literally screamed of happiness. So this is the moment that I'll always remember. And whenever I feel down, I see the video of us winning. And yeah, this is generally a very, this is the event that I remember from my life at Habib Abdulliat.
Thanks, Solia. I was part of that IFTP. So
Yeah.
I remember that was like our first and only IFTP. So right after that, we stopped having IFTP because of COVID. That is indeed a very interesting experience. So those of us, those who are listening, if they have participated in one, right? It's a lot of fun. You get to stay 48 hours on campus, non-stop. There's free food.
Yeah, the food was very nice. The best part about IFTP.
One of those rare instances where there is a free lunch.
Yeah.
So Salih, so we've talked quite about various things about how you started off, your journey here, what you're doing right now at SSR Ticket. And by the way, I hope that you can arrange for discount for SSR Ticket. I understand SSR Ticket, I assume, is already sasta.
Yeah, it is.
So is there something that you would want to share at the end? So I know that when we were initially corresponding about the show, you said that there are some thoughts you have, there's some sense of giving back, for example. Is that something you'd like to talk about, or any? So you know how in these motivational radio and TV shows, you say, one last message for our listeners.
Yeah, so I'm glad you mentioned it, that I want to give back to the Habib community. It has taught me a lot, it has given me a lot. And so anyone who is listening, I'm ready to, just like I used to connect with people, the seniors that I had, I would be very, very glad if someone reaches out to me for something that they need help in. They can reach out to me through Facebook and through my email address, and I'll be very, very willing to help them out. If there's any event that is happening, I think I have sort of an interest in speaking, so I can also speak in different events and just give introductory talks or something, because I'm very passionate about giving back to my own Habib community, and I owe it to that community.
Thank you, Solia. So that brings us to the end of our time for today. It was lovely having you, and I understand that you're not really coming to campus these days, so you came especially for this. Well, I guess maybe that gives you a chance to see the campus. As you said, so about 3 years ago, you stood outside this campus thinking that you'll be spending here. Thank you for being here, and then I'd also like to thank our listeners, those who joined us, and the recording will stay available on the Facebook page, so even if you're not able to join live, you can watch the recording later. And I just want to remind everyone that this is a weekly show, so next week we'll be back. Ala, myself, and someone you don't see here, Maz, he's the tech person.
Yes.
He set up everything, so everything has gone wrong is because of him.
Yes, blame Mars.
So we'll be back next week, same time, and you will learn soon who our guest for next week is. And Swalha, as she said, she is happy to pass it on, as they say. So just like she was contacting random people, she's okay now to be contacted by random people. And I think that is really how the ball keeps rolling. And often people are not as unwilling as you may think to hear from you and to help you out. And I think one thing that we took away from Saleha's talk with us now was the power of a positive attitude. I know that we hear and read a lot about that. It sounds almost cliche, but I'm really glad, because a lot of things that she described, she could equally well have have reacted some other way. So she may well have said that, okay, you know, I'm at this place, all these people, I don't belong. Maybe I will not be that outgoing. Maybe I'll not reach out to random people. Will they even reply? I will look so stupid. But that's not the attitude that she took. She said that, okay, this is something I want to do, something that's important to me. So I will reach out. And I know that whenever we do reach out, that is kind of exposing yourself. You're kind of vulnerable when you reach out to someone. So it takes a certain amount of courage and initiative. And I think Saleha is now a good example of how that initiative is worth it. Maybe you'll have some bad experiences as well, but that comes with the package. And if you stay persistent, then good things will also come. And we should, in the fear of those potential bad things, we should not close ourselves to all the other good things that will also come with it. So thank you very much, Saleha.
Thank you so much for having me, for arranging this show.
Thank you, and thank you everyone for joining, and bye-bye.
Bye.
You're watching Runway Radio.